Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Tjoni.
Hi, greetings, everybody. Welcome. And so happy to be here with Colin Walker from the Manoka Consciousness Group. Woo!
Hi, Tjoni. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. How are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, great to see you. And thank you so much for joining us. So, what an amazing title we've got. Once again, you've come up with a pill, The Art of Letting Go. I'm like, are you kidding me? When I saw it, I thought, yes, that is absolutely perfect. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Manoka Consciousness Group. And thank you so much for Tjoni live from Luxor for joining us. Tonight, or is it good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, isn't it, on these occasions?
Yeah,
people watch from different places around the world. So we're going to be talking about letting go. I'd just like to say to people, as they're coming in, as they're joining us, if you wish, please leave your comments in the comments post. If you've got any questions, Tjoni and myself is going to try and answer some of them. We've got an amazing topic. I think it's definitely in the top 5 topics and themes of this year and going forward, if not the top 3. I just think this is an ongoing process. Every day we're seeing people let go, etc. So I just love the topic. It's great. Anyway, so where do we start with this then, Tjoni? Where are
we? I'd like to start with the...
Oh, Busher. Hi, Busher.
Yep. I'd like to start with the title itself because I like the art of letting go, not the process of letting go, not the way to let go, not the science of letting go, because the art is it's the expression, and it's messy, and it's different for every single person. And you know, we're just in a space, to me right now, especially, you know, we've got another 12 months or so where we really need to be finding our own way. And so that's why I feel like that the art of it is really finding the way that we can come into center with ourselves and generate our own way and our own form of letting go of all of the stuff that's separating ourselves from ourselves. So and it seems to be so strong here at the moment. Like in Luxor, there seems to be this mass consensus, especially amongst the foreign women, the international women here, that all of a sudden so many of us are just hitting a point after months or years or decades of just in the last few months of just going, I can't do this anymore. We can't be here anymore. And so many of the shadows that have been like just hanging around beneath the surface have really been coming to light in the last couple of months. And that's been coming up in a surprising majority of relationships here ending very, very suddenly. So suddenly that it feels like a collective. There's a collective kind of reckoning there somehow.
Yeah.
And that feels like there could be a few different types of pull on that within the culture here that I'm happy to explore a bit later. And I'm just finding that all of the covert patterns are coming out, and they're messy and they're raw, and people that are resisting them are, in my experience, coming up against like some pretty major like loggerheads and trauma and danger. And there's even a few people that have had to leave very, very dramatically. So you know, all of the beasts are coming out to play. And I've experienced that to some degree in my own world. And interestingly, the more inner work I do, the stronger the pushback, and the more in my face in my physical world, the pushback, and then the stronger I become.
Yeah.
And it's a very intense snowballing kind of effect. So that's the energy that I'm feeling around at the moment. So there's plenty to sort of unpack in that, but yeah, what's your feeling around this topic?
Amazing. This is the topic, isn't it? Where do we start with it? There's so many layers, multiple layers. Multiple's not even doing it any justice by any means. And on each layer is filled with different facets, and it's all connected to letting go. It's this unraveling again, isn't it? It's this unfoldment to get to the core and the light of our soul. Interestingly enough, just before, prior to Christmas, I was kind of inspired, clearly inspired, to push the letting go theme kind of into our space, into the public eye, a bit more in this, you know, pocket where we are in Minorca Consciousness Group. We specifically do mini retreats on letting go, weekend retreats online. We're due one again. We was up for doing one just after Christmas. We cancelled that one and we turned it into a shorter version. And since Christmas, it's just been total inspiration, letting go. And just to go even further, and as to kind of convey the importance of letting go on two levels. One, I'm just about to finish a book on letting go. It's the letting go process, and it's kind of filled with different aspects of letting go and all the different areas within ourselves, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and different facets of what we can let go of. I've read the book probably maybe a couple of years now. I didn't even want to announce it until it was finished, but it's there to be finished, and I've been working on it since Christmas. So it's very close to being finished. So when we was communicating about what the title and subject would be, you know, all for the last 3 months, it's like spiritual guys have been going, Colin, get the letting go on the move. Let's get this shifted and moved. So when you sent the title over for this, I just kind of sat back and laughed. I thought, well, why am I not surprised at this? He was like, that's what I said to you, absolutely perfect. And I thought, wait till we talk and I tell her what's going on here. So to hear your side and what's going on that side, and then from how I've been inspired, not the I so much, but how they're inspiring the letting go to come to the surface and say, okay, we need to discuss this. We need to talk about it. The second aspect to this is this global shift again. I think it's just going to be so prominent. Letting go will be so prominent, and I know I've said this several times since just before Christmas, because it came in, and guides were saying, look, just talk about it, Colin, just put it out there. And I think on one level, we can, those what guide us from those other dimensions are clearly trying to inspire us to be prepared, be prepared that there's going to be, you know, the shift is going to continue, and in this shift, what's taking place, one of the big things is going to be the letting go process, or in your, and I absolutely love the way you put it, the art of letting go. And they've been pushing this theme kind of on a global scale. So I think finally, on this at this junction, maybe the best thing is to say is those what are guiding humanity on those higher planes or those hidden realms or whatever, you know, we refer to them as the spirit realms or multidimensional beings. They're clearly saying, amongst other things, to humanity, be ready, be prepared. There's going to be a big shift in the letting go process, or the letting go energy is going to be ripening from the depth within us and coming to the surface. And humanity's got to be ready for it. On a footnote, if I may, we're almost the classic case again, aren't we? We're back to, well, we're not back to it. We can incorporate this letting go business is such an important factor in the ascension process, what's taking place. We can't ascend while we're holding on and grasping, you know, old conditions and issues within and around our field of energies. So yeah, it's incredible that you I'm still kind of laughing quietly over it, Tony, that the fact that you said, let's do the art of letting go. Anyway, back to you.
That's fabulous. So just as you're talking, I'm like, okay, so I've got a little cycle that we can potentially go through so we have a bit of cohesion. So first of all, we could look at like why do we need to let go? Yeah. What do we need to let go of? What are some of the challenges in the letting go process, and how do we go about the process of letting go? So how does that feel for a little cycle through?
Yes, I love it. Let's go for that.
All right, beautiful. So let's start with the why then. So okay, so I'll start with my why. Why do we need to let go? And what it feels like to me is that whatever we're moving into is so vastly removed from the structures that we're in at the moment that I feel like we need to, I'm sure I've touched on this before, but we need to simply question every single aspect of our world. And within that, it's also the relationships to things, to places, to people, to all of the things that hold us in a particular construct. And by letting go, I don't mean dismissing and cutting off from, I mean letting go of the attachment to, so that we can really look at and assess all of those different aspects. And the reason for that is that, to me, all of the different influences on us and the different influences on our perceptual construct of the world, they're all like filters. And when all of those filters are in place, we can only ever see through those filters. And so we can only see through the proverbial cracks on the shell, right? We can't see what's like really there. And so I feel like we just need to question all of the bits. Be a walking question mark, my friend always says, so that we can really allow in new information and new ways of being without being bound by what is old. And even here in Egypt, where we're surrounded by such extraordinary energy and influence from the past, I feel I err on the side of caution, even when sort of looking at a lot of that information, because so much of that has been distorted as well. And so, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but just to really consider everything with absolute freshness and non-attachment, in order to be able to assess if that information and frequency and energy and whatever you want to call it is really in alignment with what we are moving into and what is not. And so that might mean shedding a lot of what we think we know. It might mean shedding a lot of people that are out of alignment with that path, and that can be difficult. It can be shedding a lot of the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves, and it can be really quite scary to step out of the structure of people and places and things and organizations and stuff like that that has created our identity. But we need to even consider whether our identity is really in full service to us anymore. And a lot of the time it might be holding us in a pattern that's destructive. So that to me is why we need to really let go of the whole gamut of our experience, and just be prepared to throw all of the cards up in the air and just see what lands where, and even if some of them are ever going to land, maybe a lot of them won't.
Yeah.
And maybe we just need to start from scratch and build a newer cache. So that to me is the one.
No, it's totally beautiful, Tjoni. I love the way I love the aspects what you've presented and pieced them together, because what you've just said has created its whole viable, truthful picture of the why to all this. I've just been reminded, we're just going to say hello to everybody, if that's okay, before we step further with this, because this subject is very, very close with me. So I just thank you everybody for joining us. To Amy Birdstrom, thank you. To Lynn, thank you for joining us. Debbie Romero, lovely to see you, Debbie. Thanks for joining us. And to Ria, Mark John, hi Mark, great to have you with us. Thanks Margaret for joining us, and everybody else. And Pauline, thanks for joining us, Pauline. Wow, you've timed it. What a subject you've picked to join us on, guys. The theme of the year. Maybe it might be the theme for the next 5 years. Who knows? Anyway, so we've got Tjoni Johansen from Egypt, Luxor, with us, as you know. Anyway, let's dive into this. Let's get to the meat. Get to the meaty bits. I mean, throwing this in at this point may not be the wisest thing, but I'm going to do it. I've always been of the impression, of the thought, and the understanding, might not have been of the wisdom, but perception-wise, that it's so important to, whether it's a spiritual path or journey we think we're walking or not. Is there a path, is there a journey, is a different question altogether. Maybe it doesn't exist. Everything is just here, in the now. And therefore, we should let go of everything we know up to 2 minutes ago. Even less than that, up to what we're doing right now, because it's gone. And I've always had that very, very strong with me. It's like, it's gone. 2 minutes ago, it's finished. But we have this tendency, don't we, to mainly out of our sense of attachment, our grasping, but go into this specific phase of it. Why should we let go? Well, why should we let go? Most of it has been very painful to us. By what we've hung on to and clung to, for whatever reason we've done it. Let's say, we're grasping a relationship, a person in a relationship. We're attached to it so strongly that we're grasping it so tight. The mind's got tight, and the mind then is getting stressed and tense, etc. So it's like, okay, let's loosen the grip then. Because then the question is, well, why should I let go of this? It's like, well, you're getting tense over it. Is it bringing you the happiness? The Buddhist theme comes in perfect with letting go, because it talks about attachment. But so why should we let go? When we look at the global conditioning, what's been placed on humanity, I think most people will happily wave goodbye to that one. It's like bye-bye, because we've lived under conditions of slavery to a certain degree, and those conditions wasn't imposed upon ourselves internally. We allowed them to be imposed upon individually and collectively. So why, why? And I mean, we can go, we know there's, reason after reason after reason without opening that door, and going into that room. But that room is relevant because it's brought us to the point of today where it's like, okay, so we need to let go. We need to let go of those chains and shackles, what we've, humanity has been bound to. Amazingly, they're coming off. We're kind of loosening them and freeing ourselves from those chains. Externally, the external ones, and it's not to say that there shouldn't be a system in place as such, but I'm a big believer, any system, any global system, what's in place will not function or work correctly without spirituality being at its head, being at its main focus point, that of compassion and wisdom and love for all sentient beings. And that's what's been lacking. So, and I know there's so much more we can kind of go into as to the reasons why. But just on another note, it's interesting that when the mind becomes so familiar and comfortable in a circumstance or a situation that it no longer has the clarity to understand that vast sense of peace and freedom which the soul and the light of the soul emanates at, because of all the conditions which we're carrying. So we can say, for example, mental conditions, our thoughts, grasping our thoughts, just as an example again, we can say, okay, so we grasp our opinions. We become attached to our opinions. So, and it's like, I'm right and you're wrong. This polarity business. And you go, well, hang on, guys, you're both right. So shall we get in the middle and see where the truth, what the pure truth is here? And as we see, just to open up slightly without going too far at this moment, because it's always tempting, as we see at the moment, there's a phenomenal sense of polarity taking place on the planet. And that's getting very, very strong, very powerful, very dangerous. And we know it's going to happen. It's going to get more and more, the energy is going to move further and further in that way, I believe. And polarity is as a sense of one thing, grasping one side of something which really doesn't profoundly serve us. I'm on this side of the fence, you're on that side of the fence. Straight away we've got separation. So our own attachment and grasping of our beliefs, of our thoughts and emotions has divided us. So we need to let go of this. We need to let go and just take a back step, just breathe, go into that center point and go, hang on, I need to feel everybody else's opinion here and feel where everybody's coming from and not say that they're wrong, because that's divisive in itself, and just go, oof, okay, I'm just going to stay here for a minute and I'm going to look in the mirrors of my own awareness, what's been reflected to me. Do that self-analysis and self-reflection and see those aspects, or try and find those aspects which not so much no longer serve me, but are a burden and a weight to me on whatever level or field of energy it may be on. Not just the material and the physical and the mental, but also on the ethereal and the spiritual side of it. So this is a vast subject, isn't it, Tjoni?
It's like every single topic we touch on could last us for like 6 months of discussion. So every single thing that you said there, I've got something to say about.
Well, that's why I didn't come back on yours. I thought I can't touch any of Tony's. I'm just going to bring my own in here because I had the same thought. I deliberately avoided it. Go for it.
So just coming back to the start of the why, a beautiful piece of writing came through for me about 25 years ago, and it was about an egg and about the identity of an egg and the purpose of an egg, and whether the egg ends up like feeding a cat or turning into a chicken or becoming a pie. Like, it doesn't really matter as long as the egg has served its purpose. But then at the end of the writing, it came back to the egg that actually hatches as a chick. And it's talking about the point at which the egg's just about to break. And it's talking about if you're too afraid, like once you get to the point where the egg has helped you to grow to a particular point, if you don't tap on the edge of that wall and start to crack it, it's stunting your growth. And that protective little container that has grown you to this point in time now becomes a prison. And so it takes just actually quite a small amount of effort to just take a slightly deeper breath and to just expand a little bit more, to just crack that egg. And when we talk about the art of letting go, when I kind of want to bring the gentleness in as well, because it's not to say that the egg was wrong, but it was there for your gestation. And there comes a point at which you need to step out of it. But even once you've started to crack it, I love the analogy that then once you've got this eggshell that's cracked and the bits of light start coming through the shell, that you're still looking at the bits of light through the inside of the shell. And so it's great that the awakening process is kind of like a gradual emergence, as bit by bit of that shell starts to fall away and we see what's on the other side. So I just kind of want to bring that analogy in to say that, it's not that all of the stuff was wrong. It was just of a different time. And we're shifting out of that now. And you're talking about the nature of the world. Like, to me, the nature of the world is simply a reflection of our inner world. And so, seeing the mess right now, it really, to me, is just a reflection of the global detox that's happening. And detox in the body, it's messy and violent, and it can be really awful. And we're seeing that in the world as well. And I know that on the media, there's an awful lot of stuff that's happening in plain sight now. And it's not nice. We don't want people to suffer. And most people don't want anybody else to suffer. But the fact is that people have been suffering immeasurably in ways that up until recently have been really quite secret, especially when you go into all of the awful stuff under the ground. That's enough said. It's not, none of it's new. It's just, it's coming to the surface now. And so part of the letting go also, to me, needs to be, I've heard it said that one of the hardest things to deal with after war is the guilt of surviving. And I think we need to be really careful to not slide into that when we're in our comfy homes doing our best to navigate both seeing like the unimaginable, dreadful things that are happening across the world, but also to balance that with needing to remain steadfast in our energy and what we're bringing in. Because if we allow ourselves to slide down, it's not helping anything, including the people that are suffering. So we need to let go of any of that guilt complex. And I think for our generation, that still can sit in our body from our parents' generation. The baby boomers, they had a dreadful guilt complex just born into them. So, I think we need to find a balance with that. And not to just dismiss everything and lose our humanity, but also to maintain our equilibrium so we can still be effective and create something better on the other side. And just talking about the systems and the structures in the world, when we're doing the healing work, and I think I might have mentioned to you before, I've been doing the spiral matrix work, which is a process that has kind of evolved, and it's working with all the different aspects of our world, from, you know, money to technology to education to building to manufacturing, like just all of the different facets, right? And most of them, if not all, have been really inverted and weaponized against us. But the systems and structures themselves, when you look at the essence of them, none of them are inherently evil. They're just not. They actually, you know, looking at the intent of even like of AI and of money and you know, different structures like this that we, you know, we've kind of been taught, well, money is the root of all evil, and, you know, we've got so many codes and programs and things about these things, and it's not the structures and tools and organizations themselves, it's the weaponization that's come from the oligarchs. But as we shift to a different frequency, I really believe that, for a start, the oligarchs and their families and all of that kind of stuff, they're all in the same planet too. They're all within the same realm that is shifting frequency too. And I really truly believe that, you know, their grip on these structures will ease. And as the more of us start to do more and more work and release all of the negative inversions of all of those structures, the more that we help to heal all of the seemingly non-sentient aspects of our world that actually, when you look at it, they do have some form of sentience. And so when we can relate to them like that and heal them like that, then we start to create a more collaborative world with everybody and everything, you know? So I really feel that that's sort of coming about. Regarding change, better the devil you know. Most people would rather suffer in a structure that they understand than thrive in something new. And this is part of our deep coding in our primal brain that wants familiar, that wants safety, that wants repetition, that doesn't want anything new. That, you know, and so that's, to me, is what's causing so much addiction to toxic substances and toxic relationships and staying in toxic jobs and, you know, all of those kinds of things. Just one of the many ways that, you know, we can tend to ourselves and help ourselves to clear all of these structures out by tending to the addiction of them and tending to the fear of change. And when you were talking about the polarity, well, so what's the easiest way to take over and control people? You just make them fight each other. And it's so easy. And we've been given so many different kinds of fodder of all of the different movements, all of the different hashtags. You know, we know all of the ones that have just given people, yes, just another excuse to virtue signal. And then the oligarchs, they don't need to spend any time, money, resources. You just let each other kill each other. You know, it's so simple. And so, to me, one of the structures we need to let go of is all of those polarities. You know, are we left or right? Are we black or white? Or like, what are we? I'm seeing so many fights online from really good people that are arguing for different sides of a war. There's no side of a war. There's just the evil guys that are trying to kill everybody, and then there's everybody else. And I don't think it's really that more complicated than that, honestly. You know, I think, yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. but lastly, I just feel like it's really important to say I've been focusing a lot on energy lately, and to me, rather than spending time and energy gathering information which is manipulatable and distorted, even the stuff that appears old and traditional, I feel like we need to be taking all of that energy and funneling it back into ourselves. And so at the moment, I must be spending 2 or 3 hours just in meditation every day at the moment, and just going, wow, okay, I need to conserve all of my energy. And this is why we need to be so careful in the relationships and activities and all of that kind of stuff that we're engaging with, even how much time we're spending on social media, just to go, where are we sending our energy, our beautiful, nourishing, powerful, potent energy? Like, what are we doing with it? So we're just flittering a lot of it away on stressing about external matters and fighting about external matters. We just need to be focusing on our bodies and tending to ourselves so that we can be beautiful vehicles for whatever's coming through.
Perfect.
I'll take a breath now.
Exactly. Take a breath, Tjoni. Enjoy it. That was beautiful. I thought I'm just going to sit here. This is just flowing beautiful. So the question is, do we pick up more on some of those aspects, or do we move on to the next one? That's what I'm thinking. As I was said, there's been so much what you've said and what's already been spoken. So I'm just going to, if I may, just chuck a couple of bits in. Maybe clarification purposes, I don't know. But so when we're looking at the letting go, and we talk about the different layers it's taking place on. So then there's the physical layer, the body itself, where there's this transformation taking place. We're moving what we believe from the dense physical body to these new vibrations where we're recognizing the physical body is a lot more than what we originally understood it to be. But it's particles, atoms, and probably whatever it is, which is filled with emptiness itself. But we know it's not a dense, heavy body. We've been informed that it's this solid state of mass, matter, a mass of matter, and we always kind of generally associate matter with dense energy. And so therefore, that was one of the first kind of conditions placed on us, mentally, emotionally. And then we've been born into the world without going too much into that side of things, where, now they're getting jabbed, babies are getting jabbed like left, right, and center, clothed immediately, placed amongst, parents. And then, so we've got the conditioning of the parents from birth, the surrounding areas, etc., brothers, sisters, kin, family, friends, etc. Then we go through the school process and so on until we get to this point here. And a massive condition. By this time, there's been a massive external conditions, what we as receptive beings have sensed and by and large become conditioned to, attached to, and grasp hold of many of them, which then we move to the emotional side, which says, well, in order for me to feel emotionally secure, I need to do, A, B, C, D, whatever it is. I need to be in a relationship, get married, get a mortgage, etc. And therefore, that's another additional. And we can see this process of chaining humanity into the lower vibrations of their own awareness. That then says, okay, we're being contained within this shell. What I absolutely love, and there's so much more, but what we can see and say now is the cosmos itself, and i.e. nature, it determines everything. And whether we think, the biggest thing about letting go from it, or one of the reflections of it, is control. the need for us to be in control. I need to control my life, or in so many cases, other people have tried to control other people. You need to do this, you need to, we want you to follow this instruction, these rules, these regulations, etc., etc. And everybody's, not everybody, but following, towing the line, so to speak, let's put it that way. And then we start moving up to the mental and the spiritual aspect. Well, the spiritual aspect, unless it was being a part of some form of orthodox religion around the world, again, set up for containment purposes, set up for divide and division, being the cause of more wars than we can ever imagine, used and manipulated in that form. And from that, one religion goes against another religion, that religion doesn't like you, that religion doesn't like you, so you've got the clash of civilizations taking place as an extension and byproduct from it. And then we go, okay, let's see if we can get this overview going of what's really happening. And we can't have the overview until we get the inner view. We've got to go into the inner light of our own awareness. And how do we get to the inner light of our own awareness? And there we are. It's due to the art of letting go. Peeling the layers back. Is this condition right for me? No, it's caused such and such. Okay, I'm dissolving it. Is this relationship right for me? Yes or no? But, make the choice from that point. Classic one is work. Classic one, the big one, is the mortgage. What everybody was kind of fooled into, believing is going to save them and give them a wonderful life. And if we look at that, mortgage, mort, death, so it's a death debt. But the masses was uneducated, innocently speaking, and toddled off and, decided to go, okay, I need a mortgage, and okay, now you're wonderful. Yeah, we'll give you it. And we're going to chain you now for the rest of your days. You might get 5 years off at the end of your life, but you won't last much longer than that, and then taxes surrounding everything. So I'm kind of broadening and just throwing all things, aspects in from all angles. And the reason why I'm saying it is because every one of those facets has got to be viewed with the letting go process. Every single one. So the cosmos is sitting there waiting and going, guys, you can't get comfortable in the system what is operating at the moment. And I'm not going to knock anything in any way, shape, or form as best I can anyway. When I say this, maybe everything was meant to be what it was, and is what it is in this moment. And the big player in the game, in its most profound simplicity, is acceptance. Acceptance that the world is what it is at this moment, including the duality. I would say to anybody what's taking sides, please step into the middle for a moment. Go into that neutral space. Because what we are seeing, and I feel that it's correct to mention this at this moment, what we are seeing is the creation and of this divide and division. And many people are falling into this trap and taking sides without having the full knowledge and the depth of understanding of what's going on completely, either on the earth plane or the spiritual side of things. So I would say, just press the pause button, however emotive or mentally involved you get. Take that time, step back and go, okay, I'm about to make this comment. I'm going to post it online. Is that adding and inflaming division even more than what is necessary? Because what I'm seeing, and I wrote something today about this, I didn't post it, but I was close to it, which was, I get where people are coming from. The global events at the moment can be very emotive. But my thought is not to take sides. Make a new, if there's going to be a post, if there's going to be a statement, do it from the spiritual side. Because by posting from one side or taking the other side, whichever one it is, it's inflaming this whole situation. And I think we're all responsible, all souls on the planet, to try and find that wisdom and go, hey, have I got the full picture here? Am I going to be looking foolish at the end of the day? Am I going to end up with egg on my face? You know, okay, despite of, we know there's terrible conditions out there, and I see them, sense them. Obviously, we're all feeling in our own way. And so maybe sometimes we've just got to let go of the information, what we think we've got, what may be incorrect. Because then that takes us to another phase of the letting go, or process, if we call it that, for a moment. Our delusions. We've all got, and we've all had, delusions at some point. We've had false beliefs where we thought our truth was the correct truth, which it was in the moment, but only the following day to find out our truth and our understanding of that truth is different. Same with our beliefs, etc. So delusions is one of the things what we're going to be letting go of, or what we're in the process of letting go of. I love the fact that you mentioned about, and I think this is one of the big keys. It's important that we be gentle with ourselves and with each other. And we don't lose in the letting go process, especially on a global scale, that we don't lose our sense of compassion, because if our peace is being disturbed, it's not the external what's disturbing it. We're allowing our mind to be disturbed. We're responsible for it. See, it's happening here. So it's like, okay, like you were saying, Tjoni, meditating 3 hours a day. It's like, okay, I'm off in. And I think that's in keeping, in perfect harmony with what's going on at the moment. i.e., it's important that we protect our minds and we protect our energies. And how do we do that? We pull back and we go into that inner space. Stepping slightly, just as a final thing on this, we know there's many issues to let go of. Like we said, mentally, emotionally, etc. The conditions from our parents, any experience what we've placed ourselves within in this environment. I would add another note with the letting go, that often, because we've been born in a world to rely on the external for so many things, to give us happiness, to give us peace, to give us security, when things go wrong in our life, naturally, the mind will then go, well, I'm blaming the external. It's his fault, it's her fault, it's as a result of this or that, the conditions, etc. So the blame game continues. There's a perpetual cycle taking place when we rely on the external. So if we go, okay, hang on, I need to take a moment and really, and I know this might rub a few people up the wrong way, but we need to become adults. We're not children. If we're going to say, I'm not a child, then we need to actually behave like adults and think before we act and go, I need the clearest picture. And one of those aspects in what I believe in order to become an adult is, rather than blaming the external or blaming somebody else for what's happened in our life, there'll be moments during the letting go process where we will have to face the cold, blunt truth that we was to blame. We was responsible. We, due to possibly our karmic connections and previous lifetimes, and this is where we're going to bring this aspect in, previous karmic conditions, what ripening during this lifetime, I place myself in that specific situation. And therefore, I have to accept that responsibility. Rather than say, well, if I hadn't done this, if that hadn't have happened, that hadn't have happened, and all the regrets and all the, remorse over different things and guilt and the blame, all of this mixed bag of, what's in the subconscious mind. Let's go, okay, I picked this planet, I picked this journey, I picked that moment, and I'm responsibility. And when we get into that center point of accepting that pure responsibility, this thing, what's called judgment, dissolves. Because we have a tendency to think with these, wise judges of what's happened in our life and happened to us. And judgment doesn't even exist. It's a concept and a figment of our imagination, and it's illusion. When we get to the core of our light, after we peeled the layers back from the letting go process, layer after layer after layer after layer, and we know, we go, okay, we've all heard the story. Well, I've let go of that now. And a week later, the same thing ripens, it triggers the mind, and they go, well, I thought I'd let go of that last week. I did a process. It shows us that there's a multitude of layers to get to the light of our soul. And I think that couples with your analogy, Tjoni, perfectly, of the egg, the shell, and the light coming in. As we're peeling the layers back, it's the same. The layer, the shell is crumbling. And once that shell is dissolved completely, and that light is in what we think shining brightly completely, then we're at the point maybe of saying, well, we might have attained enlightenment here at that point, maybe. I've gone off on one. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Oh. It's today's theme, letting go of control. Just go off on a tangent. All right. So in response, so when we were talking about the nerve system before, and that we've been trained to just maintain our awareness of who we are up until this barrier, right? And so I'm gonna have to show you this kind of map that was given to me the other day. I started so just on a side note, I started doing the Monroe Institute training about 2 weeks ago, the hemisync work, which has been really interesting. I started it about 18 months ago and it didn't feel right. I felt not energetically strong enough for it, but I've been doing it again now and it's been really great. And through that, I've been receiving a lot of guidance from an entity that feels like she's kind of my intergalactic, like cosmic origin of some kind of description, not quite human. But she showed me a map, and she showed me a map basically of the human nervous system from the head with the pineal gland right down the spine, and she pointed out the coccyx and this point here, which I thought was L7, and then I went, my biology's crap, it's actually T11. There's no such thing as L7, but that's kind of like the midway point. And she showed that basically coming out of the spine, there's 7 on this side, on each side, and then 7 down this side. So it's not every single vertebrae. But out of each of those, she showed me these things coming out. And the ones at the bottom were black, and they were going very deep down into the ground, and they had these little balls on the end, and they were receiving information, and they kind of sounded like sonar. They were making this kind of clicking sort of sound. And so they're in communication with the earth, and then the ones on the top were very like sort of strong crystalline, and they were reaching out and connecting with the cosmos. And I was asking her what the rest of the structure is and what's the importance. And she said that between here, when we're doing any energy healing work, we need to be focusing on the spinal fluid. She said, because the spinal fluid's liquid, but it's not water. It's this strange kind of slippery, crystalline, almost like liquid silvery kind of stuff. And she said that is acting basically as the bus to carry messages from the crystalline energy and from the earth energy and moving it through the spine to kind of assimilate it. And she said that the coccyx is like really super important. When I looked at the bottom of the coccyx, it actually looked like a tiny little donut, and that will become relevant in a second. Also, recently it's come to my attention that the reason why so many people having spiritual awakenings and so on are having such a difficult time is people that are focused on the Kundalini energy and bringing that up as bringing everything up the spine. In so many aspects of like yoga, meditation, all sorts of things, what are you doing? You're focusing purely on the pineal gland. It's bringing everything up. And what's happening there is that your energy is coming up and being directed up and out, but we need the other direction. So that's why the focusing on the 2 points and really the liquid in, or the liquid in between is the most important part, so that we bring everything into wholeness and balance. And the reason that demonic entities and parasites and things like that, like, I don't know about you, but when I'm in any situation where I feel like I'm being infiltrated, straight away I shield my neck energetically. And even when I had like some kind of energetic infestation here a couple of years ago, I put this on for the first time. This is actually on my dad's side, Bestamore, my grandmother. This is her cross, and I never wore it. I'm not religious at all. But as soon as I feel any parasites trying to get in and I put this on, I feel sick and I feel them purging. So it's like, forget about the religion. It as some kind of, as a geometry, is effective. And so the reason that they're getting in the top of the spine is to distort and infuse their toxicity into the spinal fluid, so that whole connective system breaks down. And I found out recently that did you know that that when priests are doing especially when they're doing come on when you get rid of the ghosts,
exorcisms,
when they're doing exorcisms, especially, they have a cross on the back of their neck.
Okay.
Like inside like their collar, whatever the official name for it.
That's right. That's true. Yeah.
And that's why, to stop anything getting in the top of the neck. So this is the structure that she gave me of us. And so this is the greater nervous system.
Yeah.
This is us being really tuned in, because we've got all of the nerves coming out from the spine, the physical nerves going through our body, but we also have this other structure. And by the way, I'd be really interested from anybody that's listening, if anybody else has had any similar insights and so on, because I love comparing maps of all of this stuff. And so then the idea about control, you were talking about control and the external, the idea of trying to change the external situation in order to affect the internal situation, it will never work, because we always take ourselves with us. And I was just talking to somebody about this today who's been having lots of difficult situations, and it's like, changing the situation isn't going to change the experience. You have to change the internal landscape first. And quite often all of these things keep coming into our field to act as like little beacons to show us the bits that we haven't shoved, chewed through yet. And so until we chew through them and digest them fully, they're going to keep coming up in our experience no matter what we do. So then the next part of this, of what she showed me, and my pure intent was like looking into life purpose and that kind of stuff. Like, what am I doing? I've got a gazillion projects and I have no idea who or what I am in the middle of it, right? Like, help me out. So she took me straight out here to the desert, to what looked like a stargate. And, with the typical, the round kind of structure with like all of these kind of ridges around the edge. Same as in the movies, same as the photos that you see of supposed stargates, like that kind of thing. But just out here, not too far away. And she got me to feel these ridges, and she said they're basically dials with coordinates of time, space, density, realm, potential, and a whole bunch of other things that we don't have words or context for yet, but as we evolve, we will. And she said, you need to learn how to navigate this thing. And I'm like, well, I've got no idea. What am I doing? And she said, well, what's your intent? I said, I don't know. What am I doing here on this planet? Like, what is my intent? And she said, well, you've got to help bring your kindred spirits in, because they're needed, especially in the next 12 months to bring in the transition, to help with the transition of humanity. And I said, okay, well, I still don't know what I'm doing. And she said, well, just have that intent. And as soon as I did that, I had a Donnie Darko type wormhole just shoot up out into the universe. And I felt like I was physically going to get sucked out. And she said, well, now this is your training. Like, this is your training, this bit down here. And, you know, my training has been 15 years of, you know, financial difficulty and physical unease and living in my van because I've been homeless, like all of that stuff. What did I learn there? I learned to anchor down regardless of what was around me. That was my training. And so I just did that. I anchored down, and she said, okay, this is how we bring in. Whenever you feel you're getting tugged, you anchor down and then you bring the thing to you. And so our function then as fully functioning human beings is to stay anchored down and simply intend what it is that we're bringing into the world. So that then comes with the responsibility, doesn't it? That we're really responsible for what we bring in, and our intent doesn't come with a filtration system. And fortunately for me, I learnt that as a teenager, because I went through a bit of a dark emo time of not knowing how to energize myself. And so, you know, I'd get into these deep dark modes just so everybody else would say, oh, Toni, what's wrong? Can I help you? You know, oh yeah, just feed me some of that energy. And I'd find myself getting into these weird stories in my mind of stuff, fictional stories that were happening of, oh, you know, somebody died and something awful happened, like all just fictional. It was just this weird cycle about when I was about 16, 17. And then one day someone asked me what was wrong, and I said, oh, this guy I know wrapped himself around a pole on his motorbike on this particular road at 80 kilometers an hour and died. And that was a complete fiction. The next day I go to school and my friend's there in tears. I'm like, what's going on? My friend, he wrapped himself around a pole at 80 kilometers an hour and died on that road yesterday. And that freaked me out. And then this kept happening. And that's what turned me from a kind of dark emo, woe is me kind of goth chick to a peace, love and mung beans hippie. I was like, everything's great. Everything's freaking great. Shiny, shiny lights. So that was the training. Like we really think our world into being. And so this is what she was talking about. And the idea of needing to control things, our addiction to control, in my perspective, comes from our sense that the world is what it is regardless of our internal world. And so we try and manipulate it physically in order to alter our internal experience. And when we can let go of that and realize that it's purely our internal experience that directs everything outside, then we can let go of the control and we can just tend to this.
Yeah.
End of rant.
Oh, brilliant. I love the picture, Toni. I love what you're saying, obviously. And I know we're going to be short of time in a moment. If anybody, just quickly, if anybody has got any questions they'd like to ask or any comments, thank you, Mark. I was reading yours as Toni was talking. Everything is engineered to try and distract us, reaching our source knowledge power. And followed by, years ago, I heard when you get christened, they close down the third eye, the third chakra, third chakra. Oh, they closed down the third chakra. Sorry, not sure how true that is. Do you mean the third chakra as in 1, 2, 3 going upwards, or do you mean third eye? Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Let's see what he comes back with. Just going back to the picture, Tony. The way you drew those, I mean, they appeared like kind of wires or tentacles. Yeah, you can see in a way they form a V. There's almost like the two pyramids there, and the center point is the connecting point. Interesting enough, they also reminded me of the toroidal field. If anybody's ever seen that, this energy, the biofield around it. Well, it's more than the biofield. Go on.
And then, third eye. It's quite possible.
That's a very interesting. Sorry, Tony. Go
on. Yeah, it's quite possible. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it honestly, but again, in my world, again, like I've been talking about the kind of letting go of the things. Honestly, I've just been kind of letting go of that stuff. It's like even those structures of like chakras and meridians and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't really have a sense of it because I'm kind of like undoing all of that kind of coding and just and starting to just come back to this, because this is what's feeling important right now. But I appreciate that, Mark, and I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But it's something else that came through with this. A few things actually. One is, well, this structure. So these structures are quite like rigid and crystalline, right? Whereas these are softer. And so this creature, she looked to me kind of like this was kind of like sweeping down. So it actually kind of looked like a tail. And then I realized it's just kind of like the sweeping down, just like an octopus tentacles or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, that's kind of reminiscent, A, of angels, B, of dragons, and C, of Renaissance style royalty and the buffaloes.
Yes.
So who knows if they're responding to some kind of memory if they were, just curiosities.
I think we should open this up more on the next one.
All right.
Here's Lynn. I've been working on letting go. I've been working on letting go of a lot of stuff that I've dragged around all my life. But what I dragged around seems almost minimal compared to what is happening in the world now. Yeah, Lynn, it is. It's well, we knew and we still know, and we're probably, it's fair to say, we're aware that energy is going to be moving, continue to move, and it's going to potentially be getting more and more powerful in its endeavor to reach whatever it's going to reach. I think none of us have a say in the event of what's coming up, because we're actually the creator of this event collectively. And therefore, until humanity has let go completely, all of us, and I think we can safely say this, that really the most important thing is we are beings of emptiness. Form without form, formless beings, whatever we want to look at it, creative energies in the vastness of the cosmos. We've somehow brought a part of our awareness to be conscious and materialized a physical body in a physical, what we perceive as a physical world. And we're now, as we empty ourselves, that's given us a clearer space within our mind and within our awareness to start exactly what Tjoni's doing, channeling beings of this nature, and so many others, so many more. I think as vessels of emptiness is really the best thing we can describe ourselves to be at, or one of the best things. We just need to be empty. And when we think about letting go, really, even though I use the word so much, in so many ways, and it's respective and relative to so many things at the moment, we can probably safely say that rather than just it's a letting go process, we're actually transforming energy. And what we are letting go of is the energy, what we've held on to and stored possibly within our subconscious awareness. Not all of it, some of it we are conscious of, but the biggest majority, 75% of what we're carrying, is within the subconscious mind. And it's unutilized energy. And what the letting go process is doing, or in this art of letting go, is transforming that old energy. It's almost like we've had it's like we've had a massive credit in our bank, which is inside us, and we've never used it. And as we transform it, we gain a greater sense of clarity. And of course, that raises our vibration, and the ascension process continues to take place, both for us individually and collectively. What say thee, Tjoni?
Well, this is almost a whole conversation in itself, because like I was saying before, what's happening in the world right now, it's like once you start going down a few rabbit holes and see what's been happening in really the cesspit of the world that's beyond human, really. And I've hit on a lot of things that I will never repeat because I don't want those images and visions to affect anybody else. And so, knowing all of that stuff, or at least having a fraction of it, and I really got hit by a lot of this about 4 or 5 years ago. And I just started to hit on stuff that was so horrifying that I just really wanted to just fall apart and disappear. And that was a real reckoning for me because I've been fed a lot of red pills over the last 10 years, but there was just some stuff that I hit that was just it was just beyond any form of comprehension for the evil that it is. And I just thought, okay, this is my reckoning now. I can let myself fall apart for the knowledge of this, or I can transmute this into something else. And so I decided to transmute that knowledge into something else. And so, to me, it's like, okay, so our own experience, we're blessed. So many of us are blessed enough that, of course we all have our struggles, but they're quite minimal compared to really the incredible suffering of so many people in the world. So in that, we can take the effects that knowledge has, and we can bring it into us and alchemize that into something positive and loving. And for me, the more and more that I see of just the absolute evil in the world, the more resolute I am to just love more and make more and create more and love and laugh more and bring in more beauty. And that to me is the magi. And that to me is our ultimate rebellion. That to me is the ultimate, the art of warriors, to alchemize that so that we can just keep infiltrating this whole entire realm with something light filled, so that bit by bit we help to starve the proverbial beast. So that's my response to that. You know, we have our roles to play, and it's in alchemizing our own stuff, and we can alchemize the other.
Yeah, totally agree. And on that note, I think on that note, it's a good note to carry on, to finish on, to carry on. So, amazing. Yeah, again, Tjoni, thank you so very much. Enlightening conversation, to say the least. Informative. Probably think we haven't covered half of it anyway, but you know, we got to the point where we could. I feel like there's so many other areas what we could have covered with the letting go aspect. Just maybe a final word from myself and yourself. I would say to people, if anybody what watches this, try not to get drawn into the duality. As we are letting go individually and as a species, that's helping with the process of this transformation and transition of ascension and bringing light into this realm, or being the light in this realm. And protect your minds, protect your energies. So, final word to you, Tjoni.
Straight away came up with the word, put your own oxygen mask on first. You know, we really need to tend to ourselves and be, in a way, quite brutal in what we slay away, and anything that is not serving us and our higher purpose, whatever it is. In some ways, you know, I feel like so much of that stuff, it's not even going to carry with us into the new frequency anyway.
I don't think any of it is. I don't think we're taking anything of this, anything. I don't think we're taking any of this world into that new one. None of it.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we're going to take is the light of our awareness in its complete, fresh, pure way, pure manner. I agree with you, Tjoni.
So we need to be our own deepest lover. I wrote a little poem about that on Valentine's Day. We need to be our own deepest lover, and that is the way that we serve humanity and all sentience. So, you know, it can be really tough, and there's a lot of that here right now that's really tough. But we have to do it. Like, I was chatting to a friend today, and it's like, it's literally do or die now. That's just what it is the next 12 months. So you know, tough love.
Yeah.
So,
and I think we could do with some open spaces where people can talk about these things, so they don't feel like they're, you know, carrying it on their own with the way the world is at the minute. But thank you so much, Tjoni. We'll leave it on your note. Brilliant stuff. Thank you to everybody who's joined us. Sorry we've got to go. I could have carried on with this one again. Much love to everybody.
Great pleasure. Thank you so much for having me again, and thank you everybody for your beautiful company and your gorgeous comments and insights.
Brilliant. Lots of love to everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you. And thank you, Tjoni, again. Amazing stuff.
Thank you.